Hello, everyone. Tonight we are standing behind a red curtain that smells like stress, Axe body spray, and 50 years of televised panic. A single spotlight hits the floor. The audience is restless. A producer waves frantically from the wings because someone already lost the inflatable hammer. Welcome to the very first moments of Whose Line Is It Anyway? And you, lucky soul, are about to step directly into the improv inferno, and you probably won't survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Also, drop your location and local time in the comments. I want to see who's watching this from a dentist's parking lot at 3 a.m. Now turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You shuffle along the frayed carpet, past a rack of mismatched blazers and one suspiciously sticky mannequin head, and onto the studio floor. Everything is dim, except that brutal humming white-blue spotlight that will, in exactly 6 minutes, make your brain leak out through your smile. There's Ryan Stiles, impossibly tall and already chewing gum like it owes him money. Colin Mochrie sits cross-legged in a folding chair, staring into the middle distance like a soldier before the storm. Brady is warming up his voice, throwing out perfect harmonies with the casual vibe of someone reading a cereal box. And then there's Carey, host, agent of chaos, glasses permanently fogged with showbiz mischief. You take your spot. The applause sign flickers on. The audience erupts like a middle school pep rally got crossbred with a Broadway matinee. Someone screams, "I love you, Wayne," and you could swear he winked back. A red light flashes. 3, 2, 1. Drew. Welcome to Whose Line Is It Anyway? The show where everything's made up and the points don't matter. That's right. The points are just like plot holes in a Fast and Furious movie. Cue music, cue panic, cue laughter like thunder bouncing off the walls. Your palms are already sweating. You glance at the cue cards. Blank. On purpose. That's the whole joke, of course. Improvisation. No script, no net. Just you. A terrifyingly well-lit stage, and a game list scribbled in someone's handwriting that definitely deteriorated after lunch. The first game is questions only. You line up, face off, and try to talk using only questions, which sounds easy until you're trying not to scream, "Can I just say one declarative sentence so my brain can breathe?" Instead of, "Did you just lick that vending machine?" Ryan, have you ever eaten a grilled cheese sandwich with your feet? Colin, why are you asking me that during a wedding? You, is this part of the ceremony? Wayne, did someone say ceremony? Am I late for my goat sacrifice? Laughter, real, rolling, contagious. You feel a little of the panic ease. Off. Like when you realize the roller coaster has seatbelts after it starts moving. And here's the thing no one tells you. When you land a laugh on this stage, it feels like you've invented air. It doesn't matter that your brain is 5 steps behind your mouth. It doesn't matter that your shirt is clinging to your back like a toddler who refuses to be dropped off at daycare. It doesn't even matter that Colin just made you break character by pretending to give birth to a toaster. You're in it now. Welcome to the gauntlet. Historically, improv comedy traces its roots all the way back to ancient Rome. Yes, that ancient Rome, where actors known as mimi would perform unrehearsed comedic pieces in front of audiences that sometimes threw bread if they liked it, and rocks if they didn't. Which explains the nervous look in Ryan's eyes whenever a muffinee enters the building. Back to the stage. The second game rolls up. World's Worst. You each take turns stepping up and doing the world's worst, insert profession here. Tonight it's world's worst person to be trapped in an elevator with. Colin steps up, coughs, and says in a gravelly voice, "So this is my fart museum collection. Want a tour?" A woman in the front row is already wiping away tears. Then Wayne, "I'm a magician, but I only make people disappear when I owe them money." Ryan glides in like a graceful menace. "Do you smell that? That's not me, that's my aura." You try. "Sorry, I just ate 15 expired protein bars and I'm very optimistic about how this is going to play out." The buzzer dings. Game over. The audience claps like they're trying to communicate with aliens via applause alone. Off to the side. In the wings, the crew is already dragging out a suspiciously lopsided trunk full of objects that would not pass an airport security check. You watch as the prop guy trips over what may or may not be a foam chicken leg. Wayne leans toward you and whispers, "Whatever happens next, don't look directly at the inflatable cow." You nod. You understand. Mostly, historians still debate whether the success of American improv shows like Whose Line was a fluke of timing or a perfect cultural storm of millennial angst and Gen X sarcasm colliding in a pre-TikTok world. But here's a real oddity. The phrase "yes and," a sacred improv principle, was first coined not by a comic, but by a psychologist studying cooperative conversation patterns in 1958. The idea? Agree, then add. Improv's golden rule. Also an excellent way to handle family reunions. Commercial break, someone shouts. The house lights flash up. You run to the side where someone hands you a half-melted granola bar and a cup of water that smells faintly of glue stick. There's no time to process, no time to question why someone backstage is wearing a full bee costume. You're on again in 60 seconds. You glance at the stage. You've survived the first wave. The carpet glue smell is getting more nostalgic than nauseating. You're sweating through your shirt, sure, but you're also here. And the audience? They don't want perfect. They want chaos. They want to laugh with you, not at you. You hear Drew's voice again. When we come back, we've got props, a musical surprise, and Ryan attempts yoga. Spoiler, it ends with paramedics. Everyone laughs. You exhale. And just like that, it begins again. You're barely back on your feet when the props game begins. Possibly the purest distillation of chaos ever packaged as primetime comedy. A crew member lurches out of the wings, carrying a Rubbermaid bin the size of a mid-size sedan, filled with foam pool noodles, something suspiciously shaped like a limb, and exactly one item that will inevitably be turned into a toilet. Drew's voice echoes through the studio. It's time for props. We're splitting into teams, Colin and Ryan versus Wayne and our newest victim. You step forward. Wayne grins at you with the calm confidence of someone who can sing in 7 octaves, while also miming childbirth. You, meanwhile, have never felt so betrayed by a chunk of red foam in your life. The object in your hands resembles either a failed boomerang or a hot dog with body dysmorphia. The buzzer sounds. Go time. Wayne grabs the prop and immediately transforms it into a neck brace. I sneezed too hard at a Taylor Swift concert. Laughter. Then he tosses it to you, and your brain does the thing. No thoughts, just improv. You lift the foam and deadpan. Ah, yes, the forbidden Jell-O flavor. Regret. The crowd erupts. You're not sure why, but you'll take it. You fling the foam across the stage like a discus and pretend to win Olympic gold for interpretive object suffering. Across the stage, Ryan holds his prop, something that looks like 2 pink spirals glued together, and shouts, "I brought my own intestines to the potluck." Colin, never one to be out-weirded, smacks his object against his head and mutters, "That's how I get cable now." Historically, physical props and performance go back millennia. The Greeks used masks with exaggerated expressions, comedy, and tragedy, to make sure even the people in the back row got the joke. In Elizabethan theater, a dagger was often just a stick painted silver, which is exactly the kind of budget vibe that Whose Line lovingly continues. You glance at the stage. You've survived the first wave. The carpet glue smell is getting more nostalgic than nauseating. You're sweating through your shirt, sure, but you're also here. And the audience? They don't want perfect. They want chaos. They want to laugh with you, not at you. You hear Drew's voice again. When we come back, we've got props, a musical surprise, and Ryan attempts yoga. Spoiler, it ends with paramedics. Everyone laughs. You exhale. And just like that, it begins again. You're barely back on your feet when the props game begins. Possibly the purest distillation of chaos ever packaged as primetime comedy. A crew member lurches out of the wings carrying a Rubbermaid bin the size of a mid-size sedan, filled with foam, pool noodles, something suspiciously shaped like a limb, and exactly one item that will inevitably be turned into a toilet. Drew's voice echoes through the studio. It's time for props. We're splitting into teams, Colin and Ryan versus Wayne and our newest victim. You step forward. Wayne grins at you with the calm confidence of someone who can sing in 7 octaves, while also miming childbirth. You, meanwhile, have never felt so betrayed by a chunk of red foam in your life. The object in your hands resembles either a failed boomerang or a hot dog with body dysmorphia. The buzzer sounds. Go time. Wayne grabs the prop and immediately transforms it into a neck brace. I sneeze too hard at a Taylor Swift concert. Laughter. Then he tosses it to you and your brain does the thing. No thoughts, just improv. You lift the foam and deadpan. Ah, yes, the forbidden Jell-O flavor. Regret. The crowd erupts. You're not sure why, but you'll take it. You fling the foam across the stage like a discus and pretend to win Olympic gold for interpretive object suffering. Across the stage, Ryan holds his prop, something that looks like 2 pink spirals glued together, and shouts, I brought my own intestines to the potluck. Colin, never one to be out-weirded, smacks his object against his head and mutters, That's how I get cable now. Historically, physical props in performance go back millennia. The Greeks used masks with exaggerated expressions, comedy and tragedy, to make sure even the people in the back row got the joke. In Elizabethan theater, a dagger was often just a stick painted silver, which is exactly the kind of budget vibe that Whose Line lovingly continues. Back on stage, the game devolves gloriously. Wayne finds a hula hoop and rebrands it as the portal to every failed diet plan. You crawl inside a cube of plastic tubes and announce in a low voice, Behold, IKEA's saddest playpen. Colin walks up with a foam sword and says in his quiet Canadian accent, I am, Sir Regret a lot. A woman in the second row snorts so hard her friend falls off the folding chair. Here's the strange beauty of props. It's not about winning. There's no real structure, no rules, no goal except one. Make something stupid fast. You have maybe 5 seconds before the audience decides you're either a comedic genius or someone slowly drowning in metaphorical pudding. Luckily, the pudding works either way. Off to the side, Drew is laughing too hard to ring the buzzer. You see him wipe tears under his glasses and mumble something about how he needs a raise or therapy or both. Wayne turns his prop into a baby. You turn yours into a disgraced carnival ride. Ryan uses his as a very untrustworthy toupee. And Colin? He just eats his silently, eyes locked with the camera like a condemned man on death row. The buzzer finally sounds. Everyone exhales. And, for a moment, the chaos fades. Just a moment, and then someone drops a giant foam banana on your foot. Odd fact, the original UK version of Whose Line Is It? Anyway, yes, before the points don't matter era, was nearly cancelled in its first season. Executives thought no one would watch people make things up in real time. One producer reportedly said, It's too clever for television. Flash forward, and it's one of the longest-running improv franchises in history. Take that, doubting. Thomas from 1988. Backstage during the reset, you sit with your fellow castmates. Ryan leans over, still holding a prop that resembles a broken snorkel, and says, You know, I once used this exact thing to play a perverted dolphin. You nod. Naturally, as one does. Wayne is beatboxing into a megaphone made of PVC pipe. Colin is tying foam hands into a hat for reasons unknown and unknowable. And you're finally starting to feel something terrifying. Comfortable. Because here's the dirty secret nobody tells you about improv. It's not about being funny. It's about being willing. Willing to look ridiculous, willing to fail. Willing to pretend a chunk of insulation foam is your ex-wife's ghost haunting your cereal. It's emotional parkour with clown shoes. You're snapped back into focus by Drew announcing the next round. Coming up, we've got scenes from a hat, musical mayhem, and an actual horse. Probably, no promises. You freeze. Did he say horse? Before you can process it, someone hands you a towel soaked in lemon water, which you assume is for your hands. Ryan uses his to clean his ears. Colin drinks his. You return to the stage. You've survived props. You may have pulled a hamstring, doing that backward somersault while impersonating an alien oboe. But hey, no one noticed. Wayne slaps your back and says, "Next round's the hat. It's hungry. Be afraid." You grin. You're still sweating through your shirt, but now it feels more like a badge of honor than a cry for help. And just before the lights flash for the next game, Colin whispers to you, "Hey, you know this carpet glue? It's actually illegal in Belgium." You stare at him. He doesn't blink. The buzzer sounds. Time to go again. You're back under the lights, blinking as your retinas adjust to the gentle nuclear glow of the studio. And there it is on the stool. The infamous hat. Unassuming, corduroy. Slightly crumpled like it was run over by a sitcom and left to heal on its own. Inside, folded slips of paper containing some of the most unhinged sentence fragments known to mankind. Drew smirks. It's time for scenes from a hat. We asked our studio audience to write down their suggestions for weird scenes, and we're deeply regretting it. He pulls the first slip. Things you can say about your car, but not your partner. Ryan. She leaks when it rains. Colin without missing a beat. The trunk's full of squirrels again. Laughter rolls like a wave. You step forward, channeling some kind of inner chaos goblin. You. Yeah, she's still run, and if you jiggle the gear shift and threaten to set her on fire, the crowd loses it. You're getting good at this. Wayne slides in smoothly. Don't worry. The dents give it character. It's rapid fire now. You don't even have time to check your thoughts. It's all instincts, caffeine, and the primal need for validation. This game is different. There's no partner, no build-up, no setup. Just one-liners thrown like darts into the brainstem of an audience high on sugar and nostalgia. Drew reads. Another. Worst times to suddenly break into song. Colin. Grandma, I'm pulling the plug. Let it go, let it go. Ryan. I now pronounce you man and weave. Divorce court. Here we go. Wayne belts. I regret nothing. As he mimics leaping from a plane. You lean in, whisper singing. I'm robbing this bank with style. You start to realize this game isn't just about jokes. It's timing, sure. But it's also group telepathy. Everyone is listening, really listening, and adjusting to the rhythm like a jazz quartet made, entirely of raccoons with microphones. If you land your line at the wrong second, it dies. But if you hit the beat, the payoff is gold. Historically, the pull a line from a hat idea is old. Really old. Like ancient Chinese improv troupes performing during the Tang Dynasty. Scholars have unearthed documentation of actors using scrolls with random lines added by the emperor himself, just to keep things unpredictable. Historians still debate whether this was performance art or just high-level court trolling. Either way, it's the original scenes from a hat, now with fewer beheadings. Back in the studio, Drew pulls another. Rejected slogans for breakfast cereals. Colin. Now with more regret per serving. Ryan. Guaranteed to taste like your parents' divorce. Wayne sings, part of a complete meltdown. And then you. Contains 12 vitamins, 8 minerals, and mild hallucinations. You're aware now that your face hurts from smiling. That's the real cardio of this show. Cheek muscle exhaustion. You're not sure how much of this is the high of performance, and how much is from the energy of the others. Wayne starts doing interpretive jazz hands after each joke. Colin's bald head glows faintly under the lights. Ryan makes a face that looks like he smelled something illegal and follows it with, now available in GOAT. The buzzer sounds. Everyone slumps forward, like deflated party balloons. And still, the audience claps like it's their job. You glance over at Drew, who's wiping his glasses for the third time in 5 minutes and chuckling into his mic. Wayne leans over and says, you know, this game, it's like Twitter if Twitter had a laugh track and better mental health. You're escorted off stage for the next reset. A stagehand offers you a protein bar. Colin declines and instead eats a loose handful of trail mix from his pocket, like a wizard who foraged it from a wardrobe dimension. Ryan is holding a small ceramic frog and mumbling about how it doesn't blink enough. You don't question this. Here's a strange fact. The American version of Whose Line once received a handwritten complaint letter from a viewer in 2002 that simply read, "Too much laughing. No one's that funny. This is a witch show." The letter was reportedly framed and hung near the writer's room. You file that away for later. The next game is being prepped. You hear someone tuning a keyboard. That only means one thing, the music round. Your palms start to sweat again. It's either going to be a hoedown or a random musical genre challenge, both of which demand that you rhyme under pressure. Same pressure that once made you forget your own phone number at a grocery store. You glance sideways at Wayne. The man looks like he was genetically engineered in a lab by Andrew Lloyd Webber and the ghost of James Brown. You are not Wayne Brady. No one is, except Wayne Brady. And yet, you kind of want to try. You're back on stage before you even realize it. The audience is now buzzing with that peculiar energy that can only mean someone's about to sing about something extremely inappropriate. Beautifully. Colin looks at you and murmurs, "Pretend your brain is on fire, then just say what it screams." You nod. Because of course, that makes sense now. The lights warm up. You stretch your neck. Your left eye twitches slightly from nerves. Wayne starts humming. Laura Hall is at the keyboard. The scent of dry ice and imminent humiliation fills the air. You're ready. Almost, but first, Drew pulls one last slip from the hat, reading it slowly like he's unearthing a cursed scroll. Things you can say to your dog, but not your boss. The crowd starts laughing before anyone even steps forward. Wayne, "Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Oh wait, it's Carl from accounting." Colin, "Stop licking my face, I'm serious, Gary." You, "If you poop on the carpet again, I swear you're going to live in the backyard." The buzzer sounds. The audience rises, like a bread loaf on fast forward. The energy is pure giddy madness now, and you're floating in it. It's surreal and alive and messy and kind of smells like popcorn and hot lights. But this next part, this is where things start to sing. There's a certain kind of silence just before a music game begins. Not total quiet. No, the audience is still chuckling from the last round. But it's expectant. It's the pause before a roller coaster drop. The kind of hush that says, someone's about to sing about colonoscopies to the tune of a swing jazz number, and I need to emotionally prepare. Drew leans back in his chair and announces, "It's time for greatest hits." You feel your stomach lurch. Ryan and Colin stroll to center, stage like two men about to try selling you a cursed timeshare in a volcano. Wayne and the keyboardist are already poised off to the side like a musical hit squad. And you're just trying not to sweat through your socks. Colin opens with a sales pitch. "We're looking at the greatest hits of an album you didn't know you needed, songs of the dental hygienist." Ryan nods solemnly. "A beautiful tribute to plaque removal and trauma bonding." Colin adds, "This next track is from that unforgettable dentist anthem, Novocaine Dreams." Wayne steps forward. Laura Hall plays a few delicate, jazzy chords, and Wayne begins to sing. "You touched my molars with your gentle gloves, but I can't feel my face or your dental love." The room howls. His voice soars. He does a slow-motion spin and mimics rinsing and spitting mid-verse. Then the key changes. Didn't know teeth cleaning could sound seductive, but here we are. When he's done, there's actual cheering. People are on their feet like they just watched a magic trick involving fire and forgiveness. Drew wipes his glasses again, just whispering, "He's not human." Historically, musical improvisation has roots in medieval troubadour traditions. Traveling performers were expected to create spontaneous songs tailored to the crowd. One noted 13th century French performer, Jehan the Witty, was infamous for composing odes to whatever item of food was thrown at him. Some scholars argue this was proto-heckling defense. Others think it was just really niche dinner theater. Either way, it worked. Back in the studio, Colin and Ryan are introducing the next track. Ryan, "Now, if you've ever wanted to hear about tartar buildup in the style of reggae." Colin, "Then you've got Jamaican Me Brush." Wayne's back at it, instantly in character. Dreadlock cap on. Where did he even get that? Swaying like he's on a beach. You gotta brush 2 times a day, or your teeth gonna slowly fade away. You try not to collapse laughing. There's something about the way Wayne points at the camera during the chorus that makes you question if your flossing routine is adequate and whether you're spiritually centered. Then it's your turn. Drew grins. Colin says, "Oh, we forgot the secret bonus track, Why Does My Dentist Know My Ex?" In the style of sad country ballad. Your brain freezes, then ignites. You step forward, guitar twang begins. Laura nods encouragingly, and you sing trembling but committed. You cleaned my teeth and broke my heart. Now you're dating Sharon from the trailer park. The audience screams. You push further. She left me for a man with floss and charm, but I still got her toothbrush. And her farm. Wayne hollers in the background. Even Colin breaks character for a second, snorting. Drew slams the buzzer, but only to keep the universe from collapsing under the power of improvised country heartbreak. The round ends. You stagger off stage, adrenaline pumping, hands slightly shaking, and somehow your heart lighter. Colin sidles up next to you. You know, he says, in the UK version, they never let us sing this much. Budget cuts. Ryan appears behind. Duty Fort, also. We weren't allowed to look directly into the camera for legal reasons. Odd fact. Ryan Stiles is actually banned from several Canadian malls for reasons no one will explain in detail. All he'll say is, there was a ferret and some miscommunication. You laugh until your sides ache. Backstage, someone hands you a tiny muffin and a bottle of water. It tastes like victory. Or maybe baking soda. You watch the crew strike the E. Musical setup like a well-trained pit crew. Cables vanish, stools return, and Colin is now inexplicably wearing 2 different shoes. One appears to be Wayne's. The lights adjust again. It's time for something calmer, or so you're led to believe. Drew announces the next round. Let's slow it down with a little game we like to call helping hands. Colin and Ryan step forward. One of them is going to have his arms replaced by someone else's. This always ends in pudding, or some kind. Simulated CPR. Tonight it's Ryan's turn to have no hands. Colin's arms will act on his behalf. The scene. Ryan is a French chef preparing to propose over a romantic meal. There's whipped cream. There's a raw fish. There's a ring inside a baguette. You watch from the side as Ryan delivers a heartfelt monologue, while Colin's hands accidentally smother him in whipped topping. At one point, Ryan shouts, "Not the trout, not the trout," as Colin lovingly slaps him with it. Laughter fills the studio like oxygen. Somewhere, a man in the front row drops his popcorn from laughing too hard. It's glorious chaos. And it hits you again, that weird blend of gratitude and disbelief. You're here. You're part of it. And none of this makes sense, yet it all fits. Someone passes by with a script labeled, "Things You Can't Say to a Nun." You don't even flinch. The next game is warming up. Colin's changing into a cowboy hat. Wayne is stretching like he's preparing for Olympic interpretive dance. You're already back in the zone. You blink, and suddenly you're a cowboy. Well, sort of. A vaguely sweaty, confused cowboy whose accent slides between Alabama, Yorkshire, and inexplicable Australian. Welcome to Narrate, the only improv game where you walk in place and describe a film noir scene like you're auditioning for a sentient trench coat. Colin is already mid-sentence. It was a night like any other, a night filled with regret, cigarette smoke, and discount rotisserie chickens. You jump in. She walked in like a mystery novel, cheap, dramatic. And missing pages, the audience snorts. Colin spins on his heel and points dramatically at the fake lamppost. You continue narrating. He had eyes like marbles, cold, round, and mostly useless. Ryan staggers into frame, one arm clutching an invisible briefcase, the other twitching, like he's got secrets in his elbow. That's when he showed up, Colin whispers, with nothing but a trench coat and a love for chaos. Ryan. The coat was on backwards. Don't ask. You freeze. Improvising a noir storyline is like Trying to assemble IKEA furniture mid-earthquake. There's a sense that everything should make sense eventually, but for now you're just hoping no one notices the missing screws. Ryan fumbles with his briefcase, which turns out to contain, surprise, Wayne. He pops out like a jazz singing, Jack in the Box belting, I'm the man with the plan, hiding in the suitcase, catch me if you can. Makes zero sense, and yet the audience is doubled over. One woman near the back is openly weeping with laughter. Someone in the front row blurts out, what is happening? And you feel seen. Here's a fact you didn't expect. The term film noir was coined by French critic Nino Frank in 1946 to describe the moody, pessimistic tone of American crime dramas post-Wabihud. Historians still debate whether true noir requires fatalism or just a really strong internal monologue delivered in monotone. You consider this as you narrate. She had legs like a conspiracy, long, dangerous, and leading to a dark ending, Wayne. Twirls. The game ends when Colin fake dies by tripping over the imaginary shadow of a metaphor. Buzzer. Lights shift. New game, props. 2 teams, 2 weird objects, endless innuendo. You're handed something that looks like a pool noodle mated with traffic cone. Colin stares at it like it owes him money. Ryan immediately jams it on his head and declares, I am the Queen of Lint. Wayne turns his prop into a saxophone and begins to mime playing Careless Whisper. The audience starts to sway. You. Welcome to IKEA's relationship testing aisle. Colin, balancing the prop on his shoulder. Just me and my emotional baggage, props. Is visual improv. The punchline is 80% pose, 20% panic. You start to get bold. You hold the prop out like a microphone. Tell us how you really feel about Mondays. Laughter, relief, the warm glow of survival. Odd fact. The Whose Line prop department once accidentally sent the performers a bag of prototype pool toys from Japan. One of them squeaked like a duck being strangled every time it moved. Colin used it to portray a failed marriage counselor. Iconic. After props, Drew announces another favorite. Party quirks. You are now the host. The others will arrive as strange guests with even stranger behaviors. You don't know what their quirks are, but you have to guess. It's like charades had a child with a fever dream. You straighten your fake blazer. The doorbell sounds. Wayne enters, instantly breakdancing. Mid-spin, he shouts facts about squirrels. You blink. Are you a squirrel-themed motivational speaker? Close enough. Buzzer. Next is Colin. He's twitching violently and seems to be melting into the furniture. You stare. Are you slowly becoming a recliner? He moans, my cushions, they hunger. The audience is sobbing with laughter. Someone chokes on a granola bar. Then comes Ryan. He enters dragging a coat rack, wearing a tutu, and singing opera in German while sprinkling glitter. Your brain does somersaults. Are you a Broadway set designer having a midlife crisis? Ryan bellows, Nine, I am a confused Eurovision contestant. Nailed it. The game ends with Ryan embracing the coat rack and screaming, You understand me, Gustav. You wipe imaginary sweat from your brow and bow. Party Quirks is the kind of game that drains your soul and fills your bloodstream with cheese whiz. In the best way. As you walk off stage, Wayne claps you on the shoulder. You've got good instincts, he says. You guessed the Eurovision thing. That's like finding a unicorn wearing Crocs. You smile. Not because you think you're amazing, but because he said it. Because you're still here and you're keeping up. Backstage, Colin is drinking tea out of a bowl. Ryan's massaging his own jaw like it insulted him. Wayne's humming quietly, eyes closed, probably communing with the improv spirits. That's when Drew peeks in. You're all on for hoedown, 5 minutes. Time stops, you have been dreading hoedown. Because hoedown is where punchlines go to die. It's a minefield of forced rhymes, awkward rhythms, and the ever-present fear of ending on a line like, So that's why I eat glue. The music is relentless. The crowd is expectant. The other players, ruthless. There's a historical irony. Here, hoedowns as a musical tradition were originally community dances in the Appalachian region. They were celebratory, inclusive, designed to bring people together. Whose lines version? A panic attack in 4/4 time. You step up to the line. Laura Hall's piano intro is cheerful, condescending even. Drew gives the topic. Things you shouldn't do at a wedding. You force your lips into a smile. You can do this. Wayne starts. I went to my friend's wedding. It was such a lovely day. But then I caught the bouquet and ran the other way. Laughter, strong start. Ryan. I said the wrong name in the vows. It caused a giant mess. Turns out I proposed to my GPS. Colin. I showed up in my bathrobe and crashed the bridal suite. Turns out it was a funeral. But man, they had good meat, then your mind races. Rhymes, wedding, dreading, shedding. You take a breath and jump. I danced so hard at the reception I ripped my pants in two, then tripped into the cake and face-planted the fondue. Applause. Relief. The round ends with a unified bow. The audience gives a standing ovation. You wobble slightly, but stay upright. You just survived hoedown. And honestly, you kind of loved it. When the applause from hoedown finally dies down, there's a strange hush again. This one isn't the giddy quiet before a musical number or the sharp inhale before a punchline. No, this is the sacred stillness reserved for the most dangerous game of all. Drew smiles a little too innocently. And now, he says, it's time for scenes from a hat. You hear actual gasps. There's no set, no costumes, no props. Just 4 people, a blank stage, and a small blue hat containing the unfiltered chaos of the human mind. That hat is your crucible. Inside it are prompts written by the audience, the writers, and maybe the ghost of someone who died laughing. Colin and Ryan step forward with practiced calm. Wayne bounces on the balls of his feet. You try not to visibly panic. Drew reaches into the hat and reads, "Unlikely things to hear during a job interview." Colin immediately marches forward. "Yes, my greatest weakness is this knife." The crowd erupts. Ryan, "My dream is to one day replace you." Wayne, "So what would I say is my biggest strength?" One word, interpretive mime. He dances silently. Your turn, you step forward. "Do I have any questions for you?" "Yes." "What is a dentist?" Buzzer. Laughter. Another prompt. Bad times to break into song. Colin, "Grandma's funeral." He stands stiffly, then suddenly belts out, "She's gone but not forgotten. She's stiffer than this beat. Let's all polka in her honor. Grab your aunt, feel the heat." Drew nearly falls off his chair. The band plays a single confused accordion note. Ryan, "As the pilot of this flight, I'd just like to say, brace." Then he hums, "Ave Maria." Wayne, "You're being audited, now jazz hands." You, "So I said to the judge, if loving raccoons is wrong," and you break into a soft waltz. Someone in the front row wheezes audibly, "You're flying." Now, the jokes hit faster, harder, weirder. What your GPS is really thinking. Colin, recalculating, again, "I said left, you idiot." Ryan, "In 300 feet, you will disappoint your father." You, "Turn around, you passed Joy 12 miles. Ago. Odd fact. The original Scenes from a Hat was just a regular bowler hat stolen from a BBC janitor. They kept it for 6 seasons. Eventually, it developed a smell so ominous that it was ceremonially burned in a fire behind Studio 7. Ryan delivered the eulogy. It ended with, "He contained multitudes." New prompt. World's worst superhero catchphrases. Wayne, "I am flatulence man and evil stinks." Ryan, "Justice, but like, maybe after brunch." You, "Behold, the moist." Avenger. Colin, hands on hips. "Don't worry, I brought snacks." Drew can't breathe. The hat is never ending. Things you shouldn't say at a romantic dinner. Colin, "This steak reminds me of my ex." Ryan, "Can you believe we're both married to other people?" Wayne, "So, you allergic to honesty or just shellfish?" You, "Sorry, I thought this was speed dating." The buzzer sounds again, mercifully. The cast bows. The hat is returned to its mysterious shelf. You feel like you just ran a marathon in clown shoes. Drew announces a commercial break and you're whisked off stage with the others. There's a couch back here, a couch no one speaks of, a couch with stuffing exposed. and at least one spring visible. Ryan calls it the throne of regret. You flop onto it. Colin sits beside you, calmly peeling a clementine. You did good, he says. Moist Avenger. That'll haunt some people tonight. Ryan tosses you a bottle of water. Hey, did you ever hear the story about the live taping, where Wayne sneezed in the middle of a tap dance and knocked over the drummer? No. Well, Ryan says, you just did. You snort water through your nose. That's when Drew pokes his head in. Up next, Irish drinking song. The tate. Color drains from your face, Colin nods solemnly. It's like Hoedown's unhinged cousin, the one who drinks cooking sherry and believes traffic cones are sentient. Back on stage, Laura Hall starts the music. A cheery, looping jig, the kind of song you might hear just before your pub burns. Down, Drew gives the topic. Why you got fired from your job? You line up Wayne, Colin, Ryan, you. Wayne begins. I worked down at the bakery. I really loved that place. Colin. I spilled the flour on the floor and right into my boss's face. Ryan. I blamed it on a gremlin. I blamed it on a duck. You. Then I put the donuts on my ears and screamed out, what the? Everyone. Hey! The format is punishing. Rhymes required. Rhythm relentless. And, you only have a second to think, Wayne. They told me I was fired. I said, that's just not fair. Colin. Then I remembered all the times I set off a fire flare. Ryan. I dropped a pie on Janet. I let the pigeons in. You. I also might have brought my goat and taught it how to sin. Everyone, hey. By the fourth verse, your lungs are begging for mercy. But the audience is loving it. They're clapping along, stomping even. Someone in the back just shouted, encore. Ironically, Wayne goes big on the final round. So now I'm unemployed. I spend my days alone. Colin. Watching soap operas and cuddling my phone. Ryan. I'll maybe write a novel or finally learn to knit. You. Or just put donuts on my ears and scream, this job's. Everyone, the audience. Shh. Everyone, pit. The place explodes. You survived Irish drinking song. Historically, Irish drinking. Songs date back centuries and often served as a communal coping mechanism. Entire villages would gather in pubs and sing about famine, heartbreak, and sheep theft. Academics still debate whether the sheep were metaphorical. Probably not. As you shuffle off stage, legs trembling, Colin mutters, I think that goat line just made it into the Hall of Fame. Ryan adds, that or Interpol's watch list. Wayne pulls you into a high five. You rhymed sin within, legendary. Drew returns to the stage and announces a lightning round of questions only. You groan. It's the final boss of logic puzzles disguised as conversation. Colin opens with Ryan. Ryan, why are you wearing a tutu? Colin, why aren't you wearing 3? Ryan, did you take my tutus? Colin, did you check under your llama? Buzzer, then it's you and Wayne. Wayne, do you come here often? You, is this the DMV? Wayne, is that why you brought snacks? You, do you want some trail mix? Wayne, do you have raisins? You, do I look like I have raisins? Laughter. Buzzer, you're tagged out. Drew chuckles. All right. We're almost out of time. So now it's time for the credits. You take your place. Colin starts reading credits as people attending the world's most confusing yoga class. Ryan. Downward dog, upward ferret, sideways accountant. Wayne. Namaste, or was it mayonnaise? I'm sweating in places I didn't know existed. The camera pans out, you wave, the crowd cheers. You made it. You were on Whose Line Is It Anyway? You didn't die, you didn't cry, you didn't even throw up in a hat. And as the credits roll, you realize something deeply true. You'd do it all again tomorrow. Your bones are gravel, your throat is made of burlap, and there's a strange ache in your jaw from smiling for a solid hour. But you're not done. Not yet. The studio. Lights are back on. The floor's been scuffed to high heaven by impromptu tap dancing, and there's still a faint scent of hairspray and nervous ambition in the air. Drew grins. Let's do some greatest hits. Oh no. Oh yes, you're on sales duty. Wayne and a very calm Colin are the singers, Ryan. He's already slipped into a jacket so hideous it likely voids insurance policies just by existing. That means he's your partner for the infomercial part. You're trying to sell a compilation album of themed songs Wayne and Colin will perform on the fly. Tonight's album? Songs of the Zookeeper's Strike. Ryan clasps your shoulder like a funeral director who also sells timeshares. You launch in, tired of peaceful days at the zoo, craving chaos, confusion, and a tambourine-heavy soundtrack? Then look no further than Songs of the Zookeeper's Strike. Wayne and Colin go to work. First genre, country. Wayne strums an imaginary banjo. Colin looks mournful. My gator bit my supervisor again, and the tiger's running free in aisle 10. Wayne twangs. They said, no more peanuts for the elephants. Now we're in a hostage situation. The audience is howling. You nod solemnly. That one always makes me cry into my snow cone. Ryan jumps in. Let's not forget the reggae hit No Monkey Business, Mon. Colin dons a Caribbean accent so gentle it might be legally safe. Me said, hey baboon, where your badge at? He said, me quit, me done, going back to the flat. Zookeeper gone, lemurs on the loose, and the llamas drinking all the apple juice. Odd fact, llamas cannot process apple juice well. The phrase llama drama stems from an incident in 1954 involving a Bolivian ambassador, 3 sugared llamas, and a diplomatic party that ended in total silence and scattered tufts of fur. Historians still debate whether the llamas acted alone. Back on stage, you and Ryan press on. Order now, and we'll throw in a special bonus track. Polka Panic in the Penguin House. Wayne goes full accordion mode with his mouth. Colin begins. Slipped on ice and crushed a crab. A parrot shouted, yo, you scab. Then I saw that walrus dance. Now I'm not wearing any pants. Ryan claps. That was inspiring and mildly traumatizing. You nod. Like most weddings, a buzzer ends the madness. Colin and Wayne bow, panting. You shake your head and mutter, Songs of the Zookeeper's Strike, available nowhere, thank God. Drew chuckles and pivots smoothly. Let's bring it back with an old favorite. Let's make a date. Oh, you're the bachelorette. You take your place on the stool and glance behind you. 3 contestants, Wayne, Colin, and Ryan, stand ready. Each with a bizarre character only they know. Wayne goes first. You. So, bachelor number 1, what's your ideal first date? Wayne, as a dramatic soap opera actor overreacting to everything. How dare you ask that, Cynthia? Or should I call you a mother? The audience screams. You, bachelor 2? Colin, as a man convinced he's turning into a dolphin. Would you like to go swimming? The tide is right. You nod slowly. Okay, that's alarming. Ryan, as a drill sergeant who thinks he's hosting a cooking show. You will boil the rigatoni until it respects you. The crowd is wheezing. So are you. You, bachelor 1, what's your favorite animal? Wayne throws himself to the floor. The jaguar, like my father. Always lurking, always judging. You. 2, Colin clicks and squeaks before tossing an imaginary fish into his mouth. You. 3, Ryan. If the chicken is undercooked, you drop and give me 20 meatballs. You can barely answer when Drew says, time's up. You guess correctly, soap opera star. Dolphin Man. Culinary drill sergeant. Colin wipes his mouth and whispers, one last time, then walks off stage with tragic elegance. Now comes a game that walks the fine line between absolute nonsense and strategic genius. Props. A foam tube and a pile of gold pom-poms are thrust into your arms. You and Wayne versus Colin and Ryan. Wayne holds the tube like a violin. Mozart's lesser-known pool noodle sonata. You put it on your head. My thoughts are streaming live, no filter. Wayne coils it into a spiral. This is your brain on anxiety. Ryan uses his pom-pom as a sad beard. Santa post-divorce. Colin fluffs his into a crown. Miss Universe 2072, still radioactive but confident. Ryan, the world's laziest lion. Colin, holding one to each ear. I hear jazz. Hands. You hold up the foam tube like a telescope. Captain, the comedy is on the horizon. Somewhere in the back, a man hiccups from laughing too hard. Historical note: the game of props actually began as a warm-up exercise in British theater during the late 19th century. Actors were handed objects from backstage and told to improvise. Shakespearean soliloquies. This is how Macbeth was once delivered using a soup ladle, a fencing glove, and a taxidermy ferret. No one survived. Artistically. After props, Drew stands and says, "Let's close with party quirks. Wayne is the host. You, Colin, and Ryan are the guests." Wayne: "Come on in, doors open." Colin stumbles in, pretending he's being attacked by invisible bees. Wayne nods politely and says, "You look itchy." You enter as someone who believes they're on a cooking show no matter what. Wayne: "Good to see you." You grab a coaster. "Today we're making bruschetta, using only my regrets and a teaspoon of oregano." Ryan storms in, arms flailing. He's clearly in zero gravity. Wayne: "You float well, man." Ryan starts doing slow-motion flips against the fake wall. You pantomime whisking risotto midair. Colin's now full bee panic, flapping and squealing. Wayne: "Guesses them all. You're sweating. The audience is wheezing. Drew throws to commercial off stage. Someone hands you a Gatorade and a breath mint. Wayne pats your back. "You're getting weird in all the right ways." Colin adds, "Those bees will haunt me, but like in a pleasant way." Ryan grins. "You made bruschetta out of emotional baggage. Bold choice." Back in the studio, Drew wraps it all up. "Thanks for watching, folks. Remember, everything's made up and the points don't matter." You and the cast take one final bow, and as the music swells and the lights dim, you stand there, basking in the strange magic of it all. You didn't just perform, you survived improv. Your limbs have gone rogue, every muscle's confused, sore, and mildly judging you, but you're still here. The red light's on. Drew Carey's wearing glasses that scream mid-2000s optimism. And the audience is still foaming at the edges like soda shaken too hard. You take a breath. One more round, maybe 10. "Let's keep it going," Drew says. Time for film dub. You're handed a video clip from a bizarre, long-forgotten 1950s sci-fi film. The kind where everyone walks like they're wearing wet socks and aliens look like disgruntled toasters. Your job? Replace all dialogue with something hilariously wrong. You, Colin, and Ryan gather behind the desk. The grainy footage rolls. A woman runs dramatically across a barren hill. A man in a trench coat flails his arms and shouts in a voice you cannot hear, so you make one up. Colin, as man: "The squirrels know what you did, Deborah." You, as woman: "I only overcooked the lasagna once, Brad." Ryan: "That lasagna had raisins, Deborah." Audience: dead. Then comes the alien. The creature looks like a glittery lamp with anxiety. Colin: "Greetings, I am Gary from HR. You: "I thought you were a lamp." Ryan: "Gary is a lamp, but emotionally, he's also your father." You all stare solemnly as the clip ends on a freeze frame of pure confusion. Odd fact: a real 1950s sci-fi film, Robot Monster, featured an alien wearing a gorilla suit and a space helmet, mostly because the costume department had both lying around. Historians still debate whether this was satire, sabotage, or simply Tuesday. Drew cackles and moves things along. "Let's hit up a classic, Hoedown." A full-body sigh escapes you. Wayne's already cracking his knuckles. Laura Hall cues up the bouncy piano. You glance at the topic card. Dentists. Of course. Wayne kicks things off. "I went into the dentist. They told me, 'Have no fear.' But then they drilled so hard I can now hear with my ear." I screamed and I panicked. I ran out the back door. Now my molars are in Reno and I don't smile no more. Polite chaos. You go next. I hate the sound of drilling. It haunts me in my dreams, like bats inside a blender, or haunted yogurt screams. My dentist said, "Relax, just breathe and feel the flow." Then I bit down on his knuckles and now we're on a show. Colin comes in like a man possessed. My dentist loves jazz music. It plays while he pokes, but last time he was dancing and snapped one of his spokes. I asked if that was normal. He smiled, said, "You're fine." then gave my gums a top hat and charged me 99. Ryan resigned to fate. I flossed for the first time back in 92. It bled for 6 full days and then I lost a shoe. The hygienist just shrugged, said, "You'll grow a new one, and now my mouth's a CVS. This hoedown is done." The audience erupts. You pretend to collapse on the piano. Ryan pretends to be dead. Colin takes your pulse using a rubber chicken. Drew. Let's switch it up. Scenes from a hat. A producer hands Drew a blue velvet hat bursting with audience suggestions. Drew reads, "Bad times to break into song, Wayne, as a surgeon. I'm holding your pancreas, oopsie daisy. You, as a cop. You have the right to remain melodic." Colin, as a priest. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here again." Ryan, and as a pilot. "One wing is gone, the other's on fire. We." Next one. "Strange reasons to get kicked out of a party." Colin. "I mistook the IZ punch bowl for a jacuzzi. My bad." Ryan. "I brought a dozen raccoons. They were invited." You. "I said I was the DJ, but I only play whale noises and emotional TED Talks." Wayne. "I replaced their cake with a motivational speaker named Carl. Your cheeks are starting to ache again. Not from pain, just relentless joy fatigue." Historical note. The idea for scenes from a hat reportedly came from real-life theater exercises where actors drew random prompts during rehearsals. But unlike your version, theirs rarely involved raccoons or jazz dentists. After some mental recovery, Drew leans into his mic. Let's test their vocab with 90-second alphabet. Rules. Act out a scene, but every line has to start with the next letter of the alphabet. You and Ryan are up. Topic. A job interview in a haunted house. You start with A. You. Absolutely sure I want this job, yes. Ryan. Better be, it's a scream. You. Can I ask about dental coverage? Ryan. Don't worry, our last guy still has most of his teeth. You. Every room here bleeds? Ryan. Frankly, that's the least of your concerns. You, get to K, things go off rails. You. Keep in mind I'm easily startled. Ryan. Let's not mention the corpse in the break room then. You. Maybe I misread the listing on Indeed. Ryan. Nope, we advertise clearly. Must. Work well with ghouls. You stall at Q. Ryan helps. Quiet. The boss hates screaming unless it's Thursday. You finish strong at Zed. You. Zombies? You never said anything about zombies. Ryan, grinning. Zombies are management. The buzzer rings. The crowd is practically foaming. Drew, doubled over, just waves for the next game. You're asked to play helping hands. You're the speaker. Ryan is your hands, hidden behind you, shoving your arms around like an enthusiastic raccoon with a Red Bull habit. The setup. You're giving a cooking demonstration. You. Today we're making a simple beef stroganoff. Ryan, as your hands, dumps imaginary salt into your imaginary coffee, then uses one to slap your imaginary forehead. You keep going. You reach for parsley. Ryan makes you toss it over your shoulder, dab your eyes with it, then pretend to sword fight an invisible waiter. Your voice trembles. Now we blend it all together with a firm whisking motion. No, not my hair, please. You hold it together, but just barely. The audience is shrieking. Odd fact, the first person to ever demonstrate cooking on camera was Chef Marcel Boulestin in 1937. He never used someone else's hands, but once accidentally flambéed his necktie. He still finished. The soufflé. As the sketch ends, you're feeding the audience with invisible food, courtesy of Ryan's unpredictable palms. One goes down your shirt, you apologize. He shrugs. Drew calls time, the lights dip again. You stagger off stage, gripping your sides. Wayne gives you a high five. Colin whispers, "You made it through Q. That's something." And for the first, time in a long time, your brain is silent. No worries, no overthinking, just the echo of laughter and the image of zombie middle management. Your body is a strange, disjointed thing right now, all sharp angles and soft laughter. There's no easy way to explain the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your bones after an hour of improv. But you're still in it, The lights are dimming, the laughter's still humming in the air, and Drew Carey's now looking at you like you're the last ice cube in his drink. Still useful, but barely. All right, folks, it's time for a real throwback. Let's go back to one of our oldest games, Tuck's Whose Line? Drew grins like someone who's about to witness a train wreck. You stare at the suggestion board. Your heart rate quickens. It's one of those moments where you realize you're just the paint on someone else's masterpiece. And by paint, you mean the kind that's been spilled on the floor, then stomped on for emphasis. The premise is simple. Each of you is assigned a different line to use during a scene, but the catch is, you can't know what the other people have been assigned. That's when the chaos unfolds. You're on stage with Colin and Ryan. The premise, you're all ex-convicts at a job interview. Colin's trying to negotiate your backstories. Ryan is attempting to look like he's been through the legal system, but he's mostly working with the aesthetic of a bored intern. Drew's already grinning. All right, let's do this. The buzzer rings. Colin starts. So, you've all been incarcerated. Tell me about your crimes. You take a deep breath and read your line, your eyes widening as you see what it is. I once broke into a church and stole all the pews. And by pews, I mean the very spirit of religion. Ryan jumps in with his line. I once tried to steal an entire circus. Not the animals, mind you, just the existence of the circus. Colin's line is bizarre, even for him. I invented a crime that hasn't been discovered yet. It's called time theft. I steal time. From you, right now. The absurdity piles on like a bad joke that won't let up. You're trying to keep it together, but Colin's saying things like, I'm sorry, but the circus is now an abstract concept, and I have no recollection of my actions, and you're nearly in tears. Ryan, sensing an opportunity, takes the lead with his next line. Actually, we're all here because we formed a gang. It was called the Piñata Bandits. We just beat up piñatas for fun. The audience is in stitches. You see, when you take a piñata's candy and feel it, you begin to question what you're really stealing from the world. Ryan. Right, but then we realized the real crime wasn't the candy. It was that we ruined everyone's birthday parties. Colin, deadpan. That's why I invented time theft. That's my real crime. I ruined your future birthday parties. The timer buzzes, signaling the end of the madness. You, Colin, and Ryan are doubled over with laughter. Drew's clapping like a proud father. You guys nailed it. Seriously, that's some next-level nonsense. As the game ends, and the spotlight flickers off, you're gently ushered to your next role. Drew raises an eyebrow. All right, let's slow things down a little. I think it's time for a more intellectual game. Let's hit them with world's worst. Oh no. Oh yes, you're about to be the world's worst anything. Everyone's scrambling for a moment of glory, to drop the funniest, most ridiculous thing they can think of in the shortest time possible. The audience is practically salivating. It's time to dig into the treasure chest of the absurd. Drew sets the mood. Okay, first up, world's worst babysitter. You immediately grab the mic and announce, Hi, I'm here to make sure your kid's too creative. I'll just leave them with markers and a wall. Colin follows suit. I only feed them candy for lunch. I'm the fun babysitter. Ryan jumps in. You like haunted dolls? I brought one for your son. Her name's Betty. Don't ask about her history. Drew is practically wiping tears from his eyes. Okay, next, world's worst superhero. I'm Captain Indecision. I'll save you, or I'll leave it up to you. No pressure. Ryan, I'm the incompetent Avenger. I can stop time, but I can't start it again. Colin, I'm the worst possible combination, half villain, half therapist. No, Colin, I'm the worst possible combination. I'm part superhero, part misunderstood mime. The audience erupts into shrieks of laughter. It's moments like this when you remember how improv isn't just about making things up. It's about catching the tiny details of life and twisting them into something that leaves everyone in a state of awe and confusion. Odd fact. The term, world's worst, was originally coined in a group therapy session in the early 1990s. Someone pointed out that they were really good at feeling like they were the worst at everything. That became the spark for an entire series of improv therapy exercises, though few participants actually felt any better afterward. Drew, ever the consummate showman, brings the game to a close. All right. I think we're all ready to finish up with a bang. Not another whose line, Drew, you mutter, he grins. Nope, we're closing with questions only. You've played this game before. It's simple. You can only speak in questions. Whoever breaks, the chain loses. You're now on stage with Ryan and Wayne, Drew signals. And you go, Wayne. Do you want the job? You. Why are you asking me? I'm the interviewee. Ryan. What makes you think I'd hire someone who questions everything? You. Is that a rhetorical question, or are you testing my intelligence? Wayne. How can you tell if someone's truly intelligent, though? Ryan. Why wouldn't you hire someone like me? You. Why wouldn't I? You haven't answered a single question. Wayne. Are you telling me that you're that confident? You. Does that question even make sense? The time ticks away and you find yourself in a web of questions so thick, it might as well be a spider's nest. The audience is on the edge of their seats. In the end, it's Ryan who cracks, muttering, Drew calls it. The crowd roars, you and Wayne take a bow, and Drew wraps it up. That's the show, folks. Thanks for joining us tonight. As the lights dim and the final notes of the theme song play, you can feel the weight of the evening lifting. It's over for now, but only for a little while. The adrenaline is slowly draining out of your system, and with it a kind of weird sadness creeps in. The show's over. The audience is still cheering, but it doesn't feel like it's for you anymore. It's just a weird blend of euphoria and exhaustion, like running a marathon only to realize you forgot to enjoy it. You shuffle backstage, past the set pieces, the crew breaking down the props, the stagehands laughing and joking like they weren't just part of an hour of pure chaos. But even as the world of lights, cameras, and goofy laughter slips away, you can't help but feel the hum of it still buzzing around in your chest. You feel alive in a way you don't get to experience every day. Maybe not even once in a lifetime. There's something about improv that brings out this raw honesty. No scripts, no rehearsals, just you and a handful of other people seeing what happens when everything goes wrong. And that's exactly when it feels the most right. You walk past the crew, who all wave at you with fake exhaustion plastered on their faces. They've been doing this for hours. You're just the newest mess to come through the door. You barely make it to your dressing room before Colin slides in, looking pleased with himself. You did well tonight, he says, his grin wide. You were great in scenes from a hat. You roll your eyes. I almost died. Colin laughs. It's the charm of it. You almost fall off a cliff and then the parachute opens last second. He pauses. You know, I don't think you've ever made it through an improv show without a few near-death experiences. You sit down and kick off your shoes, flexing your sore feet. You didn't have to be so dramatic with the raccoons, though. Colin shrugs. Drama's half the fun, isn't it? The warmth of backstage fades. The lights are gone. The cameras are turned off, but the energy lingers in the air like static, and you're not quite sure how to let it go. You've done this dance, lived the chaos, and now there's just the calm after. You hear Drew's voice echo down the hallway. He's in some kind of post-show haze, casually discussing the set with the crew. You smile. Maybe this chaotic energy is just what the world needs. A little laughter, a lot of spontaneity, and the kind of unpredictability that makes people feel like they've just seen something special. You glance at the dressing room mirror and sigh. Your hair's a mess, your clothes are a disaster. But that's the point, right? You weren't supposed to come out of this polished. You were supposed to come out of this a little more you. The door creaks open and Ryan pokes his head in. Hey man, you good? You nod, still smiling. Yeah, just trying to remember what happened. Ryan walks over, pulling up a chair. That's improv for you. All the magic, none of the memory. You laugh, shaking your head. True. I think I'm going to be seeing raccoons in my dreams tonight. Ryan chuckles. Well, if they show up in your nightmares, just ask them if they want to be in a Whose Line sketch. As if on cue, Wayne appears, holding a half-empty bottle of water. You know, you guys were terrible in World's Worst. But I'll forgive you. You raise an eyebrow. What do you mean, terrible? I thought we crushed it, Wayne grins. Yeah, you did, in the most dysfunctional way possible. There's a brief pause before the three of you burst out laughing. The moment's fleeting, but it's enough. This is improv. It's messy. It's ridiculous. It's beautiful. The buzzer for the final time rings in the distance, signaling the show's over. The laughter continues, a soft but constant hum beneath everything. And as you sit there, chatting with your fellow comedians, it dawns on you. This is the thing that makes it all worth it. The energy, the unpredictability, the chance to make something completely absurd into something memorable. Even the quiet moments backstage, when everything's winding down, still carry the echoes of everything that happened. Odd fact, there's a theory that laughter, like music, exists to create a sense of connection. The first humans likely laughed, as a way of bonding and signaling shared understanding. It's like your entire life's been preparing you for tonight's show. Historians still debate whether early laughter had a similar effect on social structures, or if it was just a way to freak out nearby predators. But who needs history when you've just created something so ephemeral, so beautifully ridiculous, that it feels like time itself bent just for you? The lights flicker out and the sounds of the set fade into the distance. But for now, you're content to just sit in the stillness of it all. You made something real, something human, out of thin air. And that's magic in itself. As you leave the dressing room, you glance back, a soft smile tugging at the corners of your mouth. The night is over, but the stories, well, those are just beginning.